Hey everyone, welcome back. This is our third session now. It is a panel discussion with some amazing members from our Indian fraternity itself. So you must, all of them have familiar faces, so you must have seen them in some event or the other speaking or, talking about them, about their products. All of them have been a part of the ecosystem for last 4 5 years, if not less than that. Starting off, the panel discussion is on why venture capitalists are looking at DeFi space. And to moderate this panel, we have Pushkar Vohra, who is the ex-CEO of Blockslab and has been an old community member. Thank you, Pushkar, and over to you.
Thank you, Manav. And so good evening, everyone. This is Pushkar Vohra moderating our last session on DeFi Bytes, and topic for this panel discussion, as Manav has already told us, is why VCs are betting big on DeFi. So I would like to shed light on this booming area on DeFi space where VCs are looking further to the glazing opportunities that the space has to offer. It's not only utmost important for the community, but also for our rapidly growing tech advancing world. So let me introduce our esteemed panel speakers for today. We have with us Tarusha Mittal. So Tarusha is COO and a co-founder of OroPocket, a universal investment platform on blockchain. OroPocket basically enables users to invest in fractional investment instruments. For now, they are offering vaulted gold and silver in India and recording assets ownership on blockchain. She was also part of founding team of Ethex, which was one of the first Ethereum exchanges of India. She is an award-winning entrepreneur who has been in tech space for nearly a decade as of now. Their product, OpenDeFi, also enables free movement of assets cross-chain. Recently closed a round of $1 million. Trading volume surpassed whooping $15.4 million within 24 hours of listing on Uniswap. Welcome, Tarusha.
Thank you so much for
panelist is, please. Next panelist is Tushar Aggarwal, founder and CEO of Persistence One. They are bridging the gap between DeFi and the traditional finance by facilitating the borrowing of crypto assets using real-world assets as collateral. Previously, he was the first employee of Southeast Asia's first regulated crypto VC fund, Lunex Ventures, that is crypto arm of traditional VC called Golden Gate Ventures, and the host of Decrypt Asia podcast. Persistent One has successfully raised around more than 3.5 million US dollars as of now. And welcome, Tushar. And last not least, Sainath Gupta, founder and CEO of Net Finance. They are bridging the gap between multi-chain tokens trading by facilitating the issuance of 1:1 collateralized. He is a well-known fintech entrepreneur. He was the founder of AsanPay, India's first mPOS similar to Square in 2011, acquired by Suvidha InfoServe, and is into blockchain and Bitcoin since 2010. And audience, we can have question answer round at the end of the session, or you can drop your question simultaneously in the chat box as well, which we can take at the end of the session. So welcome, panel. Thank you for sparing some time and shedding some light here on DeFi. So I believe as all of you are serial entrepreneurs, and this is not your first product for blockchain industry you are heading. We are all here like to know the brief description of your journey, how you reached here, or what events help you to shape your products better. And let's start with Tushar.
Sure. So happy to provide a quick introduction. So, I think for I guess it will be a very interesting conversation, given, that my background is in venture capital, and then I made the switch to the other side of the fence of being an operator versus a capital allocator. So the company that I run currently, which you introduced, is called Persistence. But prior to starting Persistence, I was the first employee at Lunex Ventures. So was involved from the very inception in terms of incorporating the fund, setting up the bank account, building the website, working with lawyers, tax advisors, fund administrators, Monetary Authority of Singapore as the local regulator, and was involved in fundraising from institutional investors. So we raised money from a publicly listed company in Japan, And this is in 2018, where there was not as much quote unquote institutional buzz as there is today in the crypto space. Raised money from the VC arm of a sovereign wealth fund and then family offices in Southeast Asia as well as Western Europe. Was involved in doing 7 deals on the equity side and then managing a liquid portfolio of about 8 to 12 tokens at any given time. In parallel, I was running the Decrypt Asia podcast, which helped to get me access to interesting entrepreneurs, founders, fund managers, and service providers in the industry. And so I'd been based in Singapore throughout this time. What I wanted to do was bet on the Indian crypto ecosystem. So after spending almost close to a decade, if we take a step back and look at the traditional startup space in India, there's about 25 to 30 unicorns today at any given time, and 80% of these unicorns were started after the year 2010, which is almost 10 to 15 years after startups of similar sizes came about in the US and China. So my hypothesis was that something similar was going to happen in the crypto space as well, where there was going to be a lot of activity in India, but it was going to happen with a lag. And I think that kind of thesis has been playing out. So been heavily involved in the crypto ecosystem as an investor. Been first investors in about 5 crypto companies. Obviously, at persistence level, we're building 2 major products. One which we kind of talk about publicly, and then one that we will be releasing details as we kind of go along. But yeah, happy to kind of go deeper into the product and happy to go deeper into some of the other questions around how the investment landscape around DeFi is evolving as well. But yeah, that's sort of a quick introduction, and for all the attendees, happy to connect offline as well. Please feel free to DM me on LinkedIn or Telegram or whatever platform you use.
Thank you, Tushar, for a wonderful insight. Over to you, Tarusha.
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm really happy to be here. We're doing this. These are all familiar faces, all the usual suspects, like I treated, of the ecosystem I hear today. So I'm Tarusha. I'm the co-founder of OpenDeFi. OpenDeFi Oro Pocket. Basically, Oro Pocket is the user interface for OpenDeFi. OpenDeFi is creating a bridge between real-world assets and the DeFi space. So currently we are live with gold and silver on our platform. So you can actually go on Oro Pocket and buy tokenized gold and silver. OpenDeFi is essentially an open protocol. It is enabling more financial inclusion, giving freedom of choice to people for better financial management of their investments for a better financial future. So essentially, what we are trying to do is we have tokenized, for example, we've tokenized gold and silver, and we are providing financial services on top of these assets. Financial services like staking these assets and earning a yield on them, getting a flash loan, using an asset-backed debit card to spend these investments in real time. Basically, all of these services make these investments highly liquid, and the platform in itself, because it's on blockchain, it makes everything about this particular ecosystem that we are trying to create very, very inclusive. OpenDeFi, by the very nature, the protocol allows a free movement of assets across chains. So we have collaborated with Tezos, with Matic, and we are building on Ethereum as well. So that is essentially what we are doing. Today is actually listing day for us. We are listing on Ascent on BitBNS, and then on Monday we'll be listing with our first INR pair. So yeah, we wanted to get like an Indian exchange on board. We are already there on BitMax and Uniswap, but so that is essentially what I'm doing currently. I have a podcast as well where I talk to people who are in the blockchain space. It's just a passion project. I love speaking to people who are working in this space to make sure, the blockchain aspect of it does not scare away people, because it's so esoteric that it seems intimidating. I like trying to break it down in the podcast. My background, I have been a deep tech entrepreneur for nearly 12 years now. That intro is a little old, Pushkar. So, even though I shared it, it's been more than a decade. So it's been around 12 years now that I've been working in deep tech. And this is my second crypto startup. So my first was, as Pushkar mentioned, was an Ethereum exchange called Ethics. And here I am now. So I'm happy to take any questions, and we can deep dive more into the product as well.
Perfect, Tarusha, and I would like to congratulate on you on your listing part today.
Thank you.
And now next to Sainath. Sainath, over to you. Am I audible, Sainath? Uh, I think Sai is facing some challenge with the internet or some
Hey,
range. Yeah, please take your time.
hey guys, this is Sainath. I run Finance. Sorry, there is slightly coordination issue from my side. So what essentially we're trying to create is we're trying to create synthetic assets on every chain. So essentially, right now, what we see is an issue where, like non-Ethereum tokens can't be traded on DeFi like Ethereum. Say Ripple. Ripple does $5 billion of transactions on centralized exchanges, but zero on Ethereum DeFi. So our idea is to create a 1:1 collateralized tokens which can be traded, programmable in smart contracts, lent, borrowed, margin traded when required on DeFi platforms. So far, we got very good response. Watch out.
Thank you, Sai, for a quick introduction. In the meantime, I would, Tarusha, so to you, would love to know, more about, product journey, what challenges you faced, how the product has been evolving throughout this particular time, and what efforts you guys need to put in to make it, market ready before reaching out to the, VCs, please.
Sure. So, we started Oro Pocket and OpenDeFi when ethics was kind of, we had to shut it down because of the banking revocation order that had come into place. As heartbreaking as that was, we wanted to build something that would be fully compliant so that knee-jerk policy reactions don't hurt us that much. We were once bitten, twice we were very shy. So we took our time with it. The idea was, as I said, with Oro Pocket and OpenDeFi, we are trying to create an inclusive platform. So we started with what we knew already. We were comfortable with the Indian market. We knew that, okay, gold and silver are conservative investments that, people look at as safe havens, right? And we wanted to actually bridge this gap. We wanted to bring in, because the gap, that bridge is necessary right now. There is a lot of noise about DeFi, but, the truth is that even now, because we are in this space, we talk about it like it's like an everyday affair, but there are so many people, they don't really understand it, and that bridge is necessary. And when you to create that bridge, you need to bring in something that people do understand and trust already. So that is why we started with gold and silver. We provide on-chain KYC so that essentially, even institutional investors can come in without any hesitancy, that that they are not able to sort of bring in the big money right now. That is the problem with DeFi. Institutional investors are still very hesitant to sort of come in a big way, in an open way. So that is how our product journey sort of started. We started with something we knew. We knew that we had a particular vision that we want to create a platform where there are all kinds of asset classes. So it wouldn't just be these two precious metals. In the first quarter of 2021, we'll be adding more asset classes as well. So we are looking at art, we are looking at premium real estate, we are looking at stocks. So we are looking at several asset classes. We wanted to make the platform as inclusive as possible. And when inclusion is required, I think blockchain does a really good job of coming in there and in creating something that is very inclusive. So to say, to repeat a cliche that unbanking, banking the unbanked, right? So I think that is ultimately everybody's vision who's there in blockchain, to sort of solve the problem of that unnamed person in another part of the world. And that is what we set out to do. And we started, as I said, with something that we completely understood. We were very lucky and blessed because we've been in this space for some time. We met the right people. We got the best operators on board. So we have, some of really good advisors. Like we have good VCs on board, GenBlock, AU21, etc. We have really great advisors like David from Holochain, and so people really supported us because they could understand that what we are trying to create was a breathable economy, and we were already live with the pilot.
Well, that's great. I mean, see, when the dots connect only, then the things happen, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I think so. I think that is why we had that leg up in a way, because we, as I said, that our pilot was ready already, and we had a working product.
Mhm.
We had an mobile app on both the platforms, a web app.
Mhm.
So that in itself was quite a stamp of trust, and people were more attracted to the proposition that we were putting forward when we were raising money, because there was a team that had a proven track record, and there was a pilot that was already ready. So I think that was the point when we started actually raising.
That's great. So, Tushar, you have been you have also a crazy journey with this product side. I think coming up first with Comdex, and then shaping up the persistence as an ecosystem, and leading the Indian ecosystem in this particular blockchain area. So I would love if you can shed some light on product journey, how you actually what were the inception factors that actually got stuck in mind, you want to actually or what you want to deliver to the industry with this persistence program.
Sure. I think kind of similar to Oro Pocket's journey, and how kind of OpenDeFi came about. We kind of started from a top-down approach as well. And you mentioned Comdex, which was us starting with the use case and then kind of vertically integrating downwards in terms of moving to the SDK level and moving to the chain level as well. So at the application level, like you mentioned, Comdex is the first application in our ecosystem, and Comdex facilitates the end-to-end journey for traders and trade financiers within the commodity trading space. So this is the trading of physical commodities from a cross-border perspective, and so especially in the cross-border from a cross-border angle, there are several inefficiencies that exist today and several complexities in terms of multiple stakeholders being involved, the time taken to settle trades being relatively longer in terms of a T+2 or T+3 settlement. And so I think as Tarusha brought up, owing to the sort of relatively instant borderless nature of crypto assets, and crypto being sort of the rails for instant settlement, cross-border commodity trading and trade financing is a use case that is it's pretty widely accepted. Again, there we're not being extremely revolutionary in terms of the use case, but in terms of go to market, the leg up that we had, and I think Tarusha mentioned that also, was that and again how business is done in India, or even Southeast Asia or Asia in general, is that there are family offices and family owned conglomerates that act as gatekeepers to a lot of industry. um, so from that perspective, what we want to do is collaborate closely with the next gen of business owners who want to take their traditional businesses into the 21st century, and then trying to figure out how to use public blockchain technology to facilitate that. So we started working on Comdex with one commodity trading organization in Singapore and one family office with a strong nexus in India that has been in the commodity trading space. And then over a period of time, a lot of the functionality and the modules that we had built, we realized can be leveraged for other assets as well. And so essentially, then what we did was platformize the tech that had been built for Comdex to make it more generalizable, so that it can be implemented for other asset classes. And a lot of the asset classes that we are working on or will be working on are the assets that Tarusha mentioned as well. So huge focus on alternative assets. And from a high level perspective, if we look at the macro picture, on the fixed income side, people are globally, especially in developed parts of the world, are finding it extremely difficult to generate returns in a zero interest or negative interest environment that we live in. So creating instruments that are both focused on sort of crypto retail, but also institutions at the same time. And trying to figure out how to allow essentially taking crypto products to institutions and bringing institutional products to crypto people. So trade finance as an asset class was never available to retail folks, and certain crypto products, there were a lot of barriers for institutions to adopt those products. So essentially we're operating at the confluence of what I just mentioned, of crypto retail plus institutions, and trying to see how the maximum number of assets that we can go after, with a high level focus on mostly alternative assets. And then of course with alternative assets, liquidity is always a problem, so trying to see how to increase volumes and liquidity for these alternative assets. So that's kind of been our journey. We started more on the institutional side through Comdex, but with the massive explosion of the stablecoin market cap, we've kind of now started focusing more on crypto retail as well, because there's sufficient volumes for us to be excited about what's happening on that side. There are some I think questions, but I'll let you ask Sai the same question, and then we can address some of the questions from the audience.
Yeah, sure, Tushar. In the meantime, as you followed, the top-down approach, and the product has been maybe tough enough, as you have to deal with a lot of compliance of various nations throughout on a global landscape. So, if I have to say, okay, you have to list down two major challenges that you faced while creating this ecosystem and throughout the journey, what would be them?
Sure.
Or
So absolutely. So it's a solid question. So, and kind of cover the question from the audience as well. So from a first of all, from a regulatory perspective, I think some of the experiences I had, while setting up Lunex as well, gave me a good perspective and networks in terms of how the Monetary Authority of Singapore thinks as well. So we definitely capitalize on the regulatory arbitrage that Singapore provides as a jurisdiction. So that is one. In general, trade finance as an asset class is a very lightly regulated industry, because again it's trading of cross-border goods, and again we're not focused on derivatives or even order book exchanges. We're more focused on the physical exchange of goods and using a platform to facilitate that cross-border trade. And so from that perspective, because it's a lightly regulated industry, that helps. All the transactions happen in US dollars, so that eliminates all of the complexities around FX as well. So the biggest compliance is mostly from a KYC AML perspective, and then if you're handling money, which we're looking to start doing, then you have to comply with the new Payment Services Act in Singapore. So I think those are the two biggest compliances that we have to worry about. Which again, having that legal infrastructure in terms of dedicated crypto lawyers who understand both the traditional world as well as the crypto world, helps immensely. So I mean, from that perspective, this having that arbitrage in India at some level from a product perspective, which Singapore doesn't have, and having that regulatory arbitrage in Singapore, which RBI doesn't provide, is a very, very strong marriage, I think, and I think we'll see a lot of startups in the Singapore India belt, in the coming days.
okay, that's great. And so next to Sainath, yeah, Sai, am I audible?
Guys, thanks for being patient.
Yeah.
Our journey starts somewhere near to first week of August, when we're trying to see what are the issues that are happening in the market.
Right.
And first issue we saw congestion on Ethereum network. Second issue we saw most of the DeFi always works on one principle: your key, your token. So if you're trading on centralized exchanges, there is always an issue. We have seen multiple exchanges running away before also. So when we try to see like what are the top 10 coins which are not being traded on DeFi, we were shocked that Ripple is not there, BCH was not there, uh, LR was not there, I think Link was also not present. So we thought like, how do we solve this? So that's how we started off with Knit.finance. It has been a very interesting journey. Most of the guys in the team are like, almost with a decade of experience and very interesting stuff. Like when you see multiple chains to be integrated to Ethereum network, it's like very interesting. And our idea is not to just bring other tokens to Ethereum. We are also wanted to do the reverse where Ethereum tokens, ERC20 tokens are also supported on other chains. So that has been our journey. And incidentally, if at the end there is a uh, time of 1 minute, I will show a small demo of my product, which is live now with Ethereum network.
Sure,
Thanks.
sure, Sai. Definitely looking forward to it as well. In the meantime, we are running short, so we are going to, go for like crisp things out there that public wants to know and the audience wants to actually know more. Uh, if we all have seen a roller coaster ride from ICO fundraisings to turning down of markets, and then again to DeFi boom, which we are facing right now. So how VCs are looking forward to DeFi, as we all have been into this space now one another way. Tushar, with your experience, in this particular industry, you've been in raising funds throughout the world, throughout the globe. So your perspective, in a way, that how VCs are taking it, whether they are open to it as of now, or still, the market still has to capture the traditional VC stuff, or what they look into, whether it's attraction stuff or the product, because there are various challenges in this ecosystem still that we have to get or eradicate.
Absolutely. So I think when we talk about VCs, I think we can classify VCs, I think, at the outside into two categories. So you have the crypto native VCs, and then you have the traditional VCs. So if we talk about the evolution of DeFi within the crypto native VCs, I think the crypto native VCs themselves were, I think, slightly taken aback. I don't think a lot of the crypto native VCs had exposure, especially I think during the summer, uh, in June, July, August, just after Compound went live with their liquidity mining initiative, which kickstarted this whole kind of summer of DeFi. I don't think a lot of VCs themselves saw it coming or had exposure. So I think I don't think it's as obvious. In Obviously, hindsight is a beautiful thing, and in hindsight, every VC will claim and now have exposure to sort of the blue chip DeFi coins, at least, like SNX, Aave,
Mhm.
Nexus Mutual, Wi-Fi. But I don't think most VCs saw it coming or even
Mhm.
capitalized on it too well. Uh, so I think that is one. I think in general, I've been speaking to a lot of my friends who work at private banks and things like that. I think it's been like that in the traditional kind of stock market as well, where I think this year institutions have just been playing catch up with retail. So I think that is one, and I think that was most definitely the case within DeFi as well. So some of the guys on Twitter, within the DeFi ecosystem, you have like Arthur Zero X, Degen Spartan. All of these guys made better calls than most institutional investors, and now they're sort of thought leaders, which is truly fascinating, and why I love the industry also. Second is traditional VCs, and so I think traditional VCs always start jumping once Bitcoin price goes up, and obviously with the decentralized finance movement as well, and sort of the merger of DeFi with kind of traditional fintech, which is starting to happen with Visa, Mastercard, Revolut, PayPal, Square, all kind of publicly declaring their support. Billionaires coming out, buying Bitcoin. Publicly listed companies diversifying their treasuries into crypto assets. So I think with all of that, VCs definitely feel that FOMO. I think what we tend to do is, put VCs up on a pedestal where we think that the VCs are ahead of the curve. But I think, especially what crypto has enabled is the true democratization of, access to deal flow, investments into early deals, access to assets at a very early stage. So I think from that perspective, I think we tend to give VCs too much credit. But I think what I've been seeing both in my network on the traditional VC side, primarily is in Singapore or in India. And I've seen, a lot of kind of traditional VCs trying to figure out what's happening in the decentralized finance ecosystem as well. And so there's definitely, I think, some FOMO there. Although I think it's a long way away before I think traditional VC firms, at least in this part of the world, I think in the US it's a little bit different, but in this part of the world, start getting exposure to tokens or have fund structures that allow them to have, exposure to tokens. But I think what we also have to realize is that the VC ecosystem in Asia as a whole, maybe excluding China, even in India, it's fairly nascent, where like majority of the funds were formed, just in the last 10 years. And so a lot of these VC funds still haven't returned their first fund because a typical life cycle of a VC fund is 10 years. So a lot of the partners, are becoming investors for the first time. They're sitting on boards for the first time. They're getting, exits for the first time. There's not enough liquidity in the markets in general, unlike the US, where so many companies have been going public recently. So I think, those are, I don't know how much that helps, but those are just some thoughts on the traditional VC space, and then the crypto VC space, and then how kind of that relates to the, DeFi ecosystem.
So a lot of advent coming to this industry. For example, let it be Grayscale buying the bitcoins, and there are various funds that have been like putting in some part of the portfolio in Bitcoin, especially, and procuring them at one price or another. So the next question to you, Tarusha, is like, for example, your platform is in investment space, right, where one can come and invest. How VCs are, having a look at this, and what have been your experience with VCs? In case you want to share some light on, what questions they ask, and for budding entrepreneurs, what are the right way to, get funded in a way.
Sure. So, as I said that, we kind of had an advantage because our pilot was already live. So, having done that, when you have proven your capability, that kind of always adds trust into your platform if you're approaching a VC. If you're doing it in the crypto space, then your tokenomics needs to be right. So, just work on that. It's important that, your tokenomics is correct, and it's not, people don't see it as a scam, because until you really prove otherwise, there are too many scams, and people will think that you are also trying to pull a number on them. So that is something you need to sort of create and nurture that trust with the VC that you're approaching. Regarding our own perspective, as I said, and I think that I still believe is the biggest advantage that we've had. A team with a proven track record, because we have already shown that we are capable of running an alternative investment platform. And then again, when we are doing this, it's like a team which is experienced with the right advisors. I think you can definitely go places. And I think Tushar said it very correctly. There are two kinds of VCs. So there are the traditional ones, and then there are the crypto VCs. So, you need to do some DD on your own end, due diligence on your own end, and figure out which ones are the ones that, might be interested in a platform like yours and would potentially invest in a platform like yours. So you need to do your research correctly. And regarding, because obviously when the market is bullish, obviously everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon. But you need to be, this is just my opinion, I think you need to be a little wise about who do you want to take on as an investor as well, right? Even if you are doing it in the crypto space, and if you're giving them an allocation of your tokens, you don't want to create a pump and dump sort of a situation for your own platform, right? So you have to consider that the investor is able to sort of share that long-term vision with you. They understand, and they understand where you are coming from and what you're trying to create. Have this is again my opinion, might not be very popular. Have a strict unlock schedule if you're going to get into it, and if you're going to be giving them some tokens, again, so as to avoid a pump and dump situation, because that kind of, I understand that the token price is obviously not the be all and end all for any project, but it does create positive or negative sentiment in the short term for the platform, which can be demoralizing for the team as well. So just keep those things in mind while you're approaching the VC, and do your research before approaching the person that you're going forward with.
So, Trusha, so product and the token economics is the two, and the team as well, obviously, the key takeaways from talk today. But if I say talking about the token economics, right? There have been this has been an era of governance tokens, right? They
Right.
never have been talked about. They never have been much, realized. We have not realized earlier. So, what do you think? For example, token economics, what are the key parameters you are looking forward while designing a token economics? So if we say there are different type of tokens that are coming up with, and there are different practices with respect to that. For example, Yearn
Yeah.
Finance has released its token in one go, let it be, right? And at
Yes.
the same time, Uniswap is still keep on doing it, right? At the same time, let it be your platform. You have raised from the VCs first, and you have gone for the private rounds. Maybe I don't know exactly, but products in Indian ecosystem, they are like going for the private rounds first, and after that, going or liquidating at later stage to the community. So, what particular factors you think one should keep in mind while developing or creating their token economics?
Okay, so it's a good question. I can give you the perspective that we had while we were trying to design our own tokenomics. So what we did was we obviously took, we would be idiots if we said that, okay, we did it all on our own. We didn't. We had some really great advisors who helped us with the math of it, and we were very sure of how to sort of create. What we had in mind was a breathable economy, because ultimately what we are creating is a financial platform. It's a fintech product, and we cannot, as I mentioned, we do not want a pump and dump situation to sort of happen. We had a seed round which was sold out in a flash. Then we had a private round that was also sold out in a flash, and we raised around $1 million. And this is all from VCs, etc. But essentially, what we had in mind in terms of tokenomics was having clarity, or having buckets, that okay, these many tokens would be allocated for, say, the team. These many tokens would be allocated for the marketing effort that we are putting in. These many are foundational reserves. These are for advisors. These are for investors, and these are initially, we wanted to keep it initially we wanted to keep it as a very low market cap project, and that is totally what we did. So you have to, ultimately, your tokenomics needs to align with the vision of your platform. We were creating, and we are creating, a financial platform which is inclusive. So we wanted a breathable economy. We wanted to make sure that it is we have like a mechanism to buy back and burn those tokens is also, and also there is like an inflationary mechanism in place as well. So again, this would be something very, very subjective, I would believe, but you need to be very clear. You can't keep changing the big buckets of your tokenomics. I think that would kind of erode trust that people might have built in your project, right? And we've been very transparent with our tokenomics, with our investors, with any of our users, etc., because we were very clear that this is how we are going forward. And if we do perhaps make any change, which is unlikely, but if we do, you have to do it in a correct fashion, so as to not, again, it's a lot about trust with crypto, because people remember the 2017 boom and bust, that ICO boom and bust.
Right.
So and right now also, because with the DeFi space there are some scams, so the people want to be careful, and that's a good thing. So you need to maintain that trust and build it and sustain it over a long period of time by making sure that you're being transparent, and the narrative is like your own. You're sort of managing to make sure that it's trustworthy. You're coming across trustworthy. So again, just the gist of it, tokenomics, they will have to be divided into big buckets, and they will be very, very subjective to your platform. What is the vision that you have? What is your total supply? What's the market cap that you're envisioning?
Perfect. Next to Sai. Sai, you there? I think Sai is not. I'm not audible to Sai. Maybe yeah. So Tarusha, coming back to you again, and let it be. Everybody's not an economist, and you have shed light on, for example, let it be. There were great advisors that uh, you know those who were on board in designing the economics of your platform. Then you are also taking care on inflation and the deflation of your token economics, just the way Binance has done, or other are following this particular approach. So, what do you think? This will create a breathable economy or a scalable infrastructure as well at the same time, or one can lose, if one designs a bad economy at the very first go.
So I think
For example,
designing.
Ripple.
Yeah, so
What?
I wouldn't compare myself to Ripple, like obviously, but Ripple is somewhere else altogether. We are very new.
Mm,
But just from again, this is because I like things from I like giving my perspective, because I think it'll be वो छोटा मुंह बड़ी बात वाली बात हो जाती है. I don't want to do that I'm saying something, and I'm also, we're all learning in this space, right? In this ecosystem, I'm
mm,
learning every day. So my perspective here would be that again, with us, it was very important that we create a breathable economy, because this is a financial platform. We wanted to make sure that it's contracting as well as inflating, and that is essentially what we did when we started, designing our tokenomics and making sure that our numbers were right. These are not random.
mm.
All of it was like
Right.
planned to the T. We have an exact formula for everything, like for obviously, like I think if platforms are indulging in any kind of staking or yields, there are
Mhm.
formulas there, so you have to actually spend some time really figuring out the very basics and the math, the unit economics of your project, because if that is incorrect, it'll be very difficult to scale
Mhm.
as a project. Right, you can only scale when you have that long term vision in mind, and this cannot be, as I said, that if you keep changing, it's okay to sort of be pivoting or to be adding
Mhm.
more features, but the
Mhm.
broad category of your tokenomics or of your raise, they need to sort of stay stable, because that's the only way, again, because this is decentralized, that's the only way that you'll be able to keep the trust of your community. So it again, I seem to be harping on the same thing, but I can't stress this enough. Get
Right.
your tokenomics right, get advisors in place who can help you design tokenomics, because honestly, if I would have started doing it myself, and more than I would have sat down, we probably would have missed a lot of things, because when it comes to our own platform, we tend to all wear some sort of blinkers. So it's good to have a third party tell you, this is not the right way. And David,
Right.
I'm completely indebted to him. He is so good with numbers from Holochain, and he kind of helped us design the entire thing. He sat down with us, and he completely changed what we had in mind in terms of numbers, because he has such vast experience. So always get somebody who has done this before to help you design tokenomics. This will, again, tokenomics is a very broad term, it's very subjective. It will
Right.
completely depend on your platform, on your total supply, on your market cap, and how do you kind of want to take it forward.
Right. What I believe is, I think in this particular token economic stuff, what Ethereum, team has done is it's amazing, right? They have created an ecosystem that is actually, you know, hopping on this world like anything. So, question next is to Tushar. Tushar, uh, how VCs see, what are the major factors that VCs look into particular token economics? Again, a similar sort of question, but would love to know about your perspective. How, because you have been in VC industry, and how the inflation and deflation taking place, and how they calculate that. What formulas in place? Have you ever hopped on with the advisors first before getting the stuff done and finalizing your token economics?
Yeah, so I think, ultimately, I think it's all very experimental still, right? I don't think it's a science, at this stage, where I think everyone is trying to figure out how to make sense of, tokens, how to, value them, how to make sure there is value capture. So, if, in I guess, Tarusha's platform, if Oro Pocket is doing well, how do you capture value? the token level. In our case, if Comdex is doing well, how do we capture value at the token level? And then, of course, in terms of what the purpose of the token is, right? So most tokens within the Ethereum ecosystem, like you rightly pointed, especially in recent times, have been governance tokens. But does governance actually accrue value? We don't know yet. It is still experimental. I mean, I think crypto in general is a sort of $500 billion science experiment still. In the grander scheme of things, 500 billion today is nothing. Bitcoin itself, this hits very close to to some people, and people all take it personally sometimes. But Bitcoin itself is an experiment, and it's turning out to be a successful experiment. But so I think from that perspective, as far as the persistence token goes, and this is the how this is the evolution of kind of the multi-chain environment as well. So most tokens which are ERC20 based are governance tokens today. But for newer platforms like Polkadot and Cosmos, which believe in the application. So again, Ethereum is just one chain, and you can build any kind of application on top of Ethereum. But Polkadot, Cosmos, and some newer chains like Avalanche in the US, they believe in the application chain model, which is that there is no one chain to rule them all, as kind of Ethereum does, but that each application is unique and requires a different level of security or privacy. And so from that perspective, what we're trying to do with persistence as well is focus on the application chain model. So Comdex application has its own chain. Some of the other applications that we're working on will have their own chains. And then these once, interoperability is live, all these chains, interact with each other. So from that respect, the persistence token is actually a staking token, and not staking in the sense of how staking works within the Ethereum ecosystem, but staking for the security of the chain. So similar to how for some folks in the audience who might have exposure to Atom or Dots, what the use of Atom at the moment is, obviously in the future it will be different, but the use of atoms and dots is just to secure the Cosmos hub, or the Polkadot chain. And so similarly, the XPRT token, which is the persistence token, is the use of that token is to secure the persistence chain. And so in that respect, I think if you mess up like the token economics of a governance token, I think it's still okay. I mean, it's not like it won't become existential for the platform. But in the case of a staking token, if you're not able to achieve a certain level of staking ratio, so like Cosmos, Tezos has managed, they both managed about a 70% plus staking ratio. And, Liam from Staffy was, presenting here earlier, and he was talking about staking ratios as well. So if a staking token, where the use of the token is to secure the chain itself, is not able to if the chain is not able to secure certain staking ratio, then it becomes much easier to do an attack on the chain. And so from that perspective, you have to be even more careful with the token distribution, with the staking token. So you want to ensure wide distribution because you want as many people to be holding the token, but at the same time you want the right lockups, and some of the things that Tarusha mentioned, so that you're able to get a high staking ratio to have higher chain security, to begin with. So in that respect, we've tried to implement some things to ensure a high staking ratio in the beginning, and then also from a token distribution perspective, we've been running a stake drop campaign where what we want is we want the people that we distribute the persistence token to already be familiar with how staking is done. And so what we're doing is we're doing sort of a very targeted airdrop, which we call a stake drop, to people that are already stakers on Atom, stakers of Atoms or stakers of Dot, Tezos, and few other chains, Iris, Terra. So it allows us to have very wide distribution of our token. And at the same time, uh, do it in a way where the people who are receiving the token are high quality, relatively higher quality, stakeholders, or more sort of not higher quality, but sort of more advanced folks who have gone through the process of knowing how to stake and things like that. So I think that was something that we did uniquely, given what we wanted to do with our token.
But that's great, and I would love to congratulate on this successful campaign of Straight Drop of yours. And what you have done is amazing, I must say, and achieved as well. And
Thank you.
Sai, you there? Are you? Or yeah, sure. Thank you. So, Sai, I would love to know from your end, for example, let it be, as there is a lot of innovation going on in around DeFi space, such as products are coming in various sectors of finance, like Dharma in savings, Dune in analytics, Aragon in DAOs, Balancer, Curve in DEXs, Insure, Nexus Mutual is there in insurance, Aave, what has done with lending is amazing. And if OpenBazaar is doing great stuff in marketplaces. So what are the other sectors that you think are pending or still have to take shape? Or do you think whether the innovation is still pending, or do you think the DeFi has taken its own shape?
Sorry. So essentially, right now, in my view, the most of the innovation happened in silos. Like DeFi chain innovations have happened in DeFi. Okay, single chain like Ethereum is most advanced when it comes to most of this stuff. But other chains are specifically good, but they're not up to the mark
Right.
uh, when it comes to writing smart contracts and others. But they have their own specific things like immediate transactions, privacy, and other stuff. Then comes the traditional finance. Okay. And also comes traditional insurance. So there are multiple silos that are developing in a different directions. I think the next innovation will be the bridges between all of this. Say the right now Nexus Mutual only does smart insurance for protocols,
Right.
but what about it does insurance for ransomware attacks? Okay. Uh, So that becomes an interesting area where it, traditional business has come onto a DeFi world. And instead of actuaries and big corporates, normal democratized people are going to be the guys who will say yes or no to pay out, do the payouts in insurance. Okay. Then also comes the traditional finance, like Tushar is doing. Like he's bought uh, traditionally business between banks, which is like huge, which doesn't work on weekends. Okay, where I remember like a dollar to rupee conversion was 7% a few years ago. Okay, now it's like nearly to 1 to 2%, but still it's high when you see that the margins in this business have come down drastically. Okay,
Mhm.
so this business now when it comes to DeFi world, which is automatic, which works 24 by 7, instead of a 3 to 5 hours payout, if it comes down to say 1 day or 1 hour, that's huge. So these are like the bridges. Like we can see like as Oro Pocket is bringing the gold delivery business onto DeFi world. Now you can buy on DeFi and get the gold delivered wherever you are. Okay. So the physical asset is being bridged to a DeFi world.
Right.
So I think the next innovation, as we can see, like three of the speakers are only talking on the bridges. We are three of us have built bridges between traditional assets and normal assets and DeFi assets. Sorry. So I think the bridges and the way we connect this innovative innovation in silos to the real world assets and how more value is created out of this is the next innovation, is my view.
So if I have to list, let it be to all the three of the speakers, and if you have to list, a particular sector in the DeFi ecosystem that still we have to see innovation into, and you think like next 1 or 2 years will be like up and rolling for this particular sector, which sectors you want to list? forward to, let it be, or you want to list? We're going quick because we are short on time here. So over to you, Tarusha. If you have to list 2 or 3 sectors, particularly in DeFi space, that you are looking innovation into.
Hmm. I think
So,
there is a lot
okay.
of innovation coming in already in terms of financial services.
Hmm.
When people are able to get flash loans or P2P loans, etc. But I would what I would like to see is perhaps as I said that is what I'm building on. So perhaps that is why I'm a little biased. But I would like to see some real fungible assets on DeFi. What we are trying to do, I would like to see more people try and sort of get in that space and make more asset classes available for the lay user to get their hands into. Right now, financial literacy is not at a very all-time high, right? People don't really know how to get into just investment in general, leave alone DeFi. I would like to see perhaps more innovation in terms of perhaps making people more aware that they can get into these spaces very easily. And I would like to see more players get into the space where they are offering real world assets and these are fungible assets and they are offering financial services on top of them. I think it sounds very ironical considering I'm also doing it. Why would I want more competitors? But honestly, that is like the long term vision. I
Yeah.
want more people to be in the space to create more financial solutions for people. Right now, people don't have the prerogative of wealth creation or wealth, kind of preservation, right? We are in the hands of usually banks and governments who might or might not have our best interests at heart. So I believe that that is the way to go forward. I think innovate for the potential for innovation in DeFi is huge. Right now, we are dealing with all kinds of in services that we've already heard of, but I'm sure that people will be able to come up with a lot of new things and moving forward and perhaps more acceptance of, as I said, of it being on a blockchain or being in the DeFi space. That is, I think, very important.
Okay, and if I come, Tushar, you have to answer this particular question. Let it be what you are presently working on. If you have to leave that and you have to work on some 2 other sectors in DeFi space, what would be them?
I think
What?
staking is very interesting. I think it and often gets overlooked. So DeFi, the total TVL is about 14 billion. Staking is already more than that, but people don't talk
Hmm.
about it. It's already, I think, crossing the 20 billion mark. And so there's a lot of liquidity locked up in staking, and so I think that's something that's super exciting. And for some people in the audience, one of the subsidiaries of Persistence is an entity called Audit One as well, where we run our own validators also. And so, if there are any Atom, Tezos, Polkadot, Iris, Terra holders, near scale holders, please feel free to delegate your coins, stake your coins to the Audit validator. But yeah, pretty bullish on staking.
Perfect. Another way, just a quick thought on what are the risk mitigation strategies that VCs are putting on these days, especially while investing in the DeFi projects. So just to help audience to understand the VC ecosystem, in particular in this DeFi space.
Is that for me or?
Please, anyone can answer, please. Tarusha, if you want to, Tushar, if you want to, Sai, if you want to.
I think Tushar would have a great perspective here
Yeah,
because he's,
exactly.
he's from that background. Please
Yeah,
go ahead. Yeah.
And I don't think there's any risk mitigation. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I
all
mean,
good.
I mean, it's, I think it's a optionality play, right? 1x downside, 10x, 100x upside. And I think that's, crypto as a whole, I think, where I think, yeah, like going long Bitcoin is, you can only lose the capital that you have, but the upside is, 10x. So, I mean, I guess notoriously, VCs just get in earlier, like in the traditional startup space as well. So that's their risk mitigation. And I guess their networks, in terms of, being able to get liquidity and things like that. I think that's the risk mitigation as VCs. But again, I think what we have to realize is, again, I think the whole thing is we put VCs on a pedestal. I think VCs are, normal human beings who make normal decisions
Based
and
on
normal
emotion.
mistakes.
Yeah, like we need to remember that.
Yeah,
We
and I'm talking about,
really need to remember that.
including top VCs. They feel FOMO as well,
Absolutely.
similar to, so, as a founder, it's your job to use that. And benefit for yourself. But yeah, I mean, happy to, I guess if there are any aspiring entrepreneurs in the audience as well, happy to, help in that process, walk through, having, gone through that process and made, mistakes along the way, happy to, provide some sort of tips and pointers, so that, some of those mistakes are not repeated, and, can definitely, help in general.
So, if last few questions that I'm going to put forward from my end. After that, we can shift to the audience. So, if I want to say, let it be, various governments these days are already working more administrative or the taxation side to welcome the innovation in DeFi, whereas others are reluctant with respect to policy making. Let it be ours, right? So, as an Indian entrepreneur, what challenges I think you faced, or what reforms you can propose to governments to make this sector more lucrative to entrepreneurs, not probably only VCs, right? I don't want to again put the VCs up.
See, there are, I think, two perspectives here. Like, blockchain and DeFi, there is a lot of noise around this, but, you need to also understand whether it's right for your project. So,
Right.
you don't necessarily have to have blockchain in every startup. If you're solving a problem and it doesn't require blockchain, don't use it. Just don't add it. It's like that AI ML sort of a boom that we had. Every startup was using AI or ML in some way. Even though it might not have been very necessary or aligned with their platform. So having said that, that is one part of it, that you first need to identify whether you really need this particular technology in your in your startup. And as per your question, that how can we sort of encourage governments to make policy? So I think there, the stakeholders in the ecosystem are already having conversations with policymakers, but in my experience, policy always kind of comes, it's like it's in retrospect that it sort of comes in, and but it doesn't really come on in time, and you kind of have to arrange yourself around it. That's why startups move quickly. But again, having said that, Niti Aayog does, it had announced that they are working on their own chain, and so I think the tech institutes, like I'm associated with IIT Delhi quite closely, so they are working, in this space. They are interested in kind of promoting and working towards this and researching in this space. It's just that the policy framework aspect kind of makes them a little iffy about it, if I may say. And yeah, it would help if the government comes with some sort of a framework, which is, because see, banning crypto or Bitcoin is not the way to go about it, because no government can really ban it, right? That is the beauty of decentralization, essentially. So that is something that policymakers need to understand, that it's not, banning is not the solution. You can tax it, you can create a framework around it, and only then would you be able to encourage relevant innovation in the country. Because otherwise what is happening is that companies are moving abroad, right? They don't set up an entity here, and then you lose out on a lot of innovative solutions. You lose out on a lot of job opportunities as a country. So it's necessary for policymakers to kind of create the right framework. But I can't say how can we sort of encourage them. A good perhaps we can encourage them by creating better solutions and making more people employable in this sector. Maybe that is the way to go about it, because then that will kind of make them look at us in a serious fashion and create policy around this particular sector.
So, how long you see that it is coming in India, particularly? Maybe a year or two?
No, actually, I don't have any clear timeline, honestly, in my head. I think, they take their own sweet time with how they are sort of working on these things and how they are creating the policy. It is just that I think with perhaps Geo working on blockchain now, maybe we'll see some push, right? So when the thing is that sadly in India, that's the truth. When these bigger capitalists, they start getting interested, or the sector in itself becomes really big and it becomes noticeable, that is when the government starts really creating policy, if they have not done so already. It is sad, but it is kind of true, because we have other problems. I think the government has its hands full already. But yeah, there are good signs when there are big players like PayPal coming into the picture, when MicroStrategy, as Tushar mentioned, they are buying, putting in money in Bitcoin. So that kind of, those are encouraging steps. And when you see, like, okay, Pakistan is now they have a framework, right, for crypto now. I'm not sure if that bill has passed or not, but this was in the news lately. So if you see the neighbors also doing it, and I think I'm very hopeful that the Indian government will also be ready with some sort of a framework that will encourage startups in this space, because it doesn't make sense to try to ban a new technology, because you'll just be left behind.
Okay, as we are running short of it, I definitely gonna see women entrepreneurs making their mark in decentralized space, as well as they are making their marks on centralized finance. And so I would like to thank all the speakers here. I think who took their time and gave not only wonderful insights in the DeFi space, but also shared their tremendous journey to motivate and encourage the budding entrepreneurs. And thank you to audience as well. I think handing over to you, Manav.
Thank you, Pushkar and Tarusha, for such a lovely panel. And Sainath and Tushar, they had to drop out because of their work. Thank you, everyone, for joining in for this session and making it our last session so interactive and such knowledgeable session. On the final note, we all like to see you again for our events in 2021 and build the ecosystem. As Tarusha said, we all have our policies coming out with the neighbors coming in. So let's see if 2021 is something that, India is going to shine. We do have some really interesting projects coming out, where you could see 3 of them being a part here only. So really hooting out for the ecosystem to grow and seeing some big companies and products coming out of India. Thank you, everyone, and love to see you guys being a part of our forums and joining in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Manav.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manav.